Good morning. The leadership of this committee, Ms. Wasserman Schultz and I, decided last night we would have this at 9 o'clock. But the powers that be wouldn't give us the room. So now we're at 8 o'clock again. It would have been nicer if we had been at 9 o'clock. But anyway, we tried very hard. And I'm grateful.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay, we're going for a record here to get this done. All right? Good morning. The Subcommittee on Military Construction and Veterans Affairs and related agencies will come to order. Welcome to the Subcommittee markup for the fiscal year 2027 Military Construction, Veterans Affairs, and related agencies appropriation bill. Welcome Chairman Cole, welcome Ranking Member DeLauro, and Ranking Member Wasserman Schultz. I'm pleased to present the fiscal year 2027 Military Construction and Veterans Affairs and related agencies bill today. I know this process, the process to this point has been rather quick and a little hectic, but it's important that we do our jobs as appropriators and get moving on this critical legislation. It's a good bipartisan bill that funds various programs members on both sides of the aisle care about deeply. The bill before us provides the Department of Veterans Affairs and related agencies just over $137.8 billion in non-defense discretionary funding, as well as $323 billion in mandatory funding to fulfill our obligation to our veterans. As I've stated many times over, we have an obligation to ensure our veterans get the benefits and care that they've earned. This bill does that while addressing other critical issues affecting veterans, including homelessness, military health, science, and takes care of our women veterans. This bill makes critical investment totaling $19.2 billion in the infrastructure of our service members who work and live. My voice is so slowly leaving me. As always, we kept our promise to those who moved forward first and put their life on the line. I look forward to working with all of you as the bill moves forward, and I ask for your support for this legislation. Now I will recognize my good friend and ranking member of the subcommittee, Ms. Wasserman Schultz, for her opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Judge Carter, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for yielding, and thank you for our work together yet again on the important issues to make sure that our service members and our veterans and their families are well cared for. And I truly appreciate our continued partnership that really maintains the bipartisan tradition of this subcommittee. Thank you, Chairman Cole and Ranking Member DeLauro, for your leadership on the full committee. And Mr. Chairman, I believe that what you've put together in this bill is really the best that you could have done under the circumstances, given your inadequate allocation and the pressures that you face from your corner. It's not the bill I would have written, but given the tentative allocation, I would have needed to craft something similar, borrowing a few notable disagreements. In terms of funding, the bill makes many necessary investments, but it also fails to fully fund some important programs. For military construction, while the bill cuts $9.4 billion from the President's request, it does include $50 million in funding to address PFAS remediation efforts. The bill also provides additional investments in child development centers and barracks. I know you worked hard to accomplish that, both areas of bipartisan concern. Unfortunately, the bill does not sufficiently fund the NATO Security Investment Program, underfunding it by $122 million below the President's request, but it is funded at the same level as last year. VA healthcare is fully funded, although not as high as what the President requested. It is still sufficient to keep up with growing demand and increasing healthcare costs. I'm disappointed that the bill does not include $53.7 billion in advance funding for the TEF, the Toxic Exposure Fund. I hope we can work this out in full committee as we did last year, but it's vital that we maintain our commitment to fully funding healthcare for those exposed to toxic chemicals. This advanced funding, I'll note, is also included in the President's budget request. In terms of language, although this bill does not include the myriad culture war riders from last year, which I truly appreciate, it still contains several provisions that we oppose. This bill undermines VA's ability to keep at-risk veterans safe by preventing VA from reporting a beneficiary to the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, or the NICS system. This helps keep guns out of the hands of those who are prohibited under federal law from purchasing or possessing firearms. This bill is, in effect, prohibiting VA from following the law that is intended to protect veterans from self-harm. Veterans make up about 1 in 5 adult firearm suicides, and we see an average of 4,600 veteran firearm suicides every year. It is tragic and unacceptable that this bill undermines our efforts to keep veterans safe. The bill also includes 2 unnecessary provisions related to Guantanamo Bay and report text on reproductive health. Although the report text is non-binding, it serves no purpose but to antagonize women veterans and those that support the ability for women to make decisions about their own health care. This bill was written with the best information available because the budget was, once again, unacceptably late. And as I speak, the President has still not provided the required justification materials that we need to inform our funding decisions, and I know that is a bipartisan source of frustration. We also held only 2 hearings, down from about 6. It was a constricted time frame, given how late we got the President's budget, but making sure that we can get the proper, appropriate feedback, be able to ask questions before we write this bill is incredibly important. We've not even heard from the VA Secretary, whose discretionary budget makes up 88% of this bill. Mr. Chairman, I know you're working to get the Secretary scheduled to testify. I've pressed him as well. He simply must come before us to answer our questions about the President's FY27 budget proposal for VA and many other important issues affecting our nation's veterans. Finally, once again this year, I'm concerned about the government services that veterans rely on outside of the Milcon-VA bill. The President has asked for $1.5 trillion for the Department of Defense, but he's requested to slash critical programs across the government upon which our veterans rely. I want to stress, I've expressed concerns here this morning, but I truly appreciate the hard work Chairman Carter has put into the bill before us and look forward to working with him to strengthen the bill during Tuesday's full committee markup. I hope to see bipartisan progress. We are always able to work closely together on this product. We share the same priorities, and looking forward to seeing what we can do to improve the bill leading up to our full committee markup process and address the issues that have been raised. I look forward to continuing this important work with my colleagues throughout the rest of the fiscal year 2027 process, and I do want to acknowledge my staff, Farouk Ofaso, Tyler Coe, Samantha Price, my legislative director in my personal office, who I'll note today is her last markup with me as a member of my staff. She's done a remarkable job and is actually going off the hill for her professional future, but I dearly love her. She's done an incredible job, so thank you so much. And also I want to acknowledge Justin Masucci, Ariana Delgado, Jason Wheelock, Jamara Villarreal on Judge's staff. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Look forward to continuing to work together. I yield back.
Thank you, Ms. Wasserman-Schultz. Mr. Cole, I now recognize.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Carter, and thank you, Ranking Member Wasserman-Schultz and Ranking Member DeLore, and all the members of the subcommittee on both sides of the aisle. Today, we begin consideration of the fiscal year 2027 Military Construction and Veterans Affairs Bill, our first step in advancing another year of responsible, results-driven appropriations. This measure reflects a clear priority, delivering for those who have served and those who continue to serve. It fully funds veterans' health care and benefits and ensures that the promises made to our nation's heroes are met with both words and actions. It strengthens safety nets for those in need by supporting critical mental health and suicide prevention efforts. And it invests in long-term improvements at the VA, and our nation's military cemeteries. At the same time, this bill reinforces our base posture from the ground up by investing in military construction, improving barracks, and ensuring our installations are equipped to support readiness in an increasingly complex environment. From the Indo-Pacific to installations here at home, strength and preparedness are not optional. We also recognize that the military unit doesn't stop at the uniform, but extends to the family behind it. That's why this bill sustains resources for family housing, child care, and quality of life needs. Our service members, both past and present, uphold their duty in uniform, and we uphold ours through Article 1. This is a responsible, mission-focused bill that honors that shared commitment. I want to thank Chairman Carter for his leadership. I also want to thank Ranking Member Wasserman Schultz and the majority and minority staff for their work on this bill. I look forward to its consideration today, and frankly, I look forward to improving the product as we work through the process in the months ahead. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
I recognize Ms. DeLauro, Ranking Member of the full committee.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank you and Ranking Member Wasserman Schultz, and acknowledge my friend and Chairman Cole on this effort. And I want to just say to the chair and the ranking member of the subcommittee, I think your collaboration is a model for how we should proceed and move forward. It's a way in which we make progress. It's a way an Appropriations Committee should function, and I thank you for preserving the goal and the mission of the Appropriations Committee and its work, and I mean that very, very sincerely. And also hats off to the staff, because they do a hell of a job on both sides of the aisle, so thank you. You know, we have a moral responsibility to take care of our veterans and our service members. It's part of our job in the Congress, and on this committee to make sure that their devotion to our country is matched by their country's devotion to them. The bill before us this morning makes progress to that end in certain regards, and yes, I believe in other areas it falls short. It does not honor our commitments under the PACT Act to advance fund health care for veterans who were exposed to toxic chemicals in the line of duty, adds uncertainty and instability to their access to quality care, nor does the bill keep our commitment to our NATO allies, falling short of what we promised for NATO's infrastructure program. Also, there are several divisive policy riders in the bill, which I oppose. However, the bill also contains a number of positive provisions which I support. I am glad that this bill increases the funding for the suicide prevention and treatment programs, including suicide prevention outreach. Although progress has been made, the veteran suicide rate remains high than the population at large, and it is clear that we must do more to address what is a tragic situation. I am also supportive of the increase in funding for rural health and substance use disorder programs, which provide much-needed support for veterans across this country. I'm glad to see that the bill increases funding for women's health care, helping to ensure the women who have served our country get the care that they need. Overall, the bill increases funding for the VA by more than $4 billion, including a $6.5 billion increase to veterans' medical care. These are important resources that will go a long way to supporting the brave men and women who have served this country and served us gallantly. This is only the first stage of this bill. I look forward to continuing to work with our colleagues and address some of the issues that still remain. I thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you, Ms. DeLauro. Who else do I need to recognize? Any other member that wish to speak on this? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for two important issues that were added. One is Subic Bay. For those who haven't been out there, we are now a U.S. base in Subic Bay. It's the only deep water port out there. The airstrip at Subic Bay moved more material than Panama Canal. But in order to defend the Pacific, we're going to have forward staged ammunition and some capability to produce nitrocellulose. So thank you for including that. And secondly, rebuild our Navy. It is not in my district, but I have spent a little time in the Philadelphia shipyard. when I was a SEAL Team 6 commander in '98, and it hasn't improved. So there's basic infrastructure that needs to be done in order for the Koreans to invest $150 billion into our shipbuilding program, and that's basic infrastructure to water, roads, and so we can execute that shipyard. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Will the gentleman
for
yield?
that. I will.
I just want to note that this is Mr. Zinke's last markup as a member of our subcommittee, and although we have clashed from time to time, we have developed a respect for one another, and I have enjoyed serving with you and really wish you the best as you move on to the next stage, and also the best of health.
Thank you. I'm reaching self-actualization. I yield back.
Is there anyone else who wishes to be recognized? Oh, seeing that there's no amendments, I'd like to recognize Mr. Rutherford for the purpose of making a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion that we move the bill favorably reported to the full committee.
The question is on the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. I ask unanimous consent that the staff be permitted to make technical and conforming changes to the bill and the report. Without objection, so ordered. That's pretty good time there, folks.
Is it record time here?
It's close. I think we did a good job, and especially when everybody got their sleep interrupted in the middle of the damn night. So thank you very much for being here. And does anyone else need a comment? If not, we're adjourned.
Subcommittee on Financial Services and General Government will come to order. Welcome to the Subcommittee Markup for the fiscal year 2027 Financial Services and General Government Appropriations Bill. Before we begin, I'd like to point out that Vice Chairman Lalota has been so kind as to provide some material for your breakfast, should you need some here as we start the day. As you all recover from your power nap from last night. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes for an opening statement. I'd like to thank Chairman Cole, and I'm sure Ranking Member DeLauro would be here. And of course, I would like to thank Ranking Member Hoyer. I value his insights on and off the subcommittee. First, let me say once again, I appreciate the work the subcommittee did at the beginning of the year for this fiscal year 2026 bill enacted. The bill we are marking up today builds on those efforts. Financial Services and General Government, or FSGG, appropriation bills funds much of the federal government, including the Department of Treasury, the Executive Office of the President, the Federal Judiciary, the District of Columbia, and more than 20 independent commissions, departments, and agencies. The FSGG top-line allocation for the fiscal year 2027 is $25.4 billion, which includes $143 million in new disaster funding for the SBA, Small Business Administration, excuse me. Without the disaster money, this bill cuts $1 billion from the fiscal year 2026 enacted bill. This bill is also consistent with the President's fiscal year 2027 budget request for FSGG, which proposes approximately $26 billion in the new budget authority without the rescissions, budget authority, cancellations, and fees it proposes. Last year, I focused on 3 priorities drafting our bill and report. Number 1, ensuring fiscal responsibility. 2, leveraging new technology. And 3, strengthening national security. This year, the bill prioritized the elimination of waste, fraud, and abuse and other improper payments in both federal and state governments. These are priorities on which all members of both sides of the aisle should agree and support. I'll take a moment to briefly describe the bill title by title. Title I provides the funding for the Department of Treasury. The top line number for the Treasury is $12 billion, a $1.1 billion or 8.3% cut from the fiscal year 2026 enacted levels. Within the Department of Treasury, the bill funds the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States at $22 million, an increase of $1 million. Holds the Office of Terrorism and Financial Intelligence constant at $238 million. Cuts the Community Development Financial Institutions Fund to $276.6 million. Cuts the IRS by 8.5% from fiscal year 2026 enacted levels to $10.2 billion. Title II funds the Executive Office of the President, or EOP. The funding for that is $872 million, which is consistent with the 26 enacted levels. Within the EOP, it holds the Office of Management and Budget constant at $129 million. Holds the Information Technology Oversight and Reform Account, also known as ITOR, constant to $8 million. Increases the high-intensity drug trafficking program within the National Office of National Drug Control Policy to nearly $300 million, and increases the drug-free community program to $142 million to help support anti-doping efforts at the 28 Olympic Games in Los Angeles. Title III of the bill funds the federal judiciary. Just as we do for the legislative and executive branches, we need to ensure that effective operations of our third branch of government, including physical and cybersecurity protections, are met. Title IV of the bill cuts federal funding to the District of Columbia by almost 10% to $792 million from fiscal year 2026 enacted levels. This includes a 50% cut to the tuition assistance program and a more than 40% cut to the emergency planning and security costs account. Title V funds our independent agencies. This includes the SEC, FTC, FCC, GSA, USPS, SBA, and our smaller agencies. Total funding for Title V is approximately $2.2 billion, which is 23% cut from the fiscal year 2026 enacted. Finally, the bill contains the important policies that apply across the federal government and the District of Columbia in Titles 6, 7, and 8. Most of these provisions are legacy riders, which have been around for years, if not decades. These provisions reaffirm important pro-life protections, defund the disastrous climate rule, stop the Biden-era divisive social policies, prohibit mask and vaccine mandates, protect traditional marriage, codify the REINS Act, and other critical executive orders. As I said at the beginning, I'm proud of all the work the subcommittee has accomplished to date. I'll close by encouraging my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to support this bill, and I yield back. And I will now recognize Ranking Member Hoyer for his 5 minutes for opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This is an unusual process, to say the least. We have had essentially 2 hearings, and only one department head, other than the GAO, testify. And that was Mr. Cooper of the OPM. This bill cuts from the previous fiscal year revenue. This bill, we have no 302B allocations at this point in time. I'm not sure, Mr. Chairman, where our number came from, but we have not adopted a 302B allocation, although I understand there is some plan to do so, and that this bill is within the suggestion. But we haven't passed it. So I'm going to be offering an amendment later today, which funds an increase in the IRS enforcement. The IRS budget in 2010 was $10.2 billion. If it were to be funded at the rate that it was funded in 2010, it would be $18.3 billion. Obviously, a lot of progress has been made in terms of mechanization, and that figure is probably not an accurate figure, but it's clearly indicative of how robustly the IRS enforcement and other aspects of taxpayer service was what funded during the course of 16 years ago. So we believe that this budget substantially underfunds many of the objects which are critically important. Now, we don't know, because we have not had Secretary Besant, which is the one large department that we fund. We fund a lot of other very important enterprises, including GSA, and OPM, and OMB, and the White House, none of whom have testified before our committee. So we had no opportunity to ask questions, determine what the priorities should be, to determine what is not being done by the cuts that have been suggested. And so, to some degree, we're flying in the blind. Now, this is our bill, and I know all of us have read this and have taken it to heart. This is the report, the bill, and I'm not sure exactly what this is. What's this? That's a section-by-section analysis, which, just for me, apparently, the chairman says. What is the point I'm making? The point I'm making is this process is backwards. What theoretically this subcommittee does, and I know our chairman is here and our ranking member said numerous times during the course of the passage of the budget for last year, which still hasn't been completed, obviously, that they relied on the work of the subcommittee and the expertise of the subcommittee. Mr. Chairman, the big chairman, respectfully, this subcommittee, if it's expert, has not been given the information it needs at this point in time, and I think you probably, well, I don't want to speak for you, but we're flying blind because we have not had the overwhelming majority, but 90+% of the agencies we fund testify before us to justify the expenditures that they're asking for and tell us what the trade-offs are. As a result, this is essentially a pro forma session. And I raise that issue because I think it impacts the result, the substance. Yes, it's process, but the substance is affected because we have not had the opportunity to question, to learn, to make a decision on what the trade-offs are, what the alternatives are. And again, we have not adopted the 302B. Now, the problem with not adopting a 302B, this subcommittee in particular, and I've been on it for a very long time, as all of you know, and Mr. Womack chaired this subject, we get a very low, we're on the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to resources necessary. And I'll make this when we have the real markup in the full committee. I'll make this point, that we are substantially underfunded in terms of what we expect the agencies under our jurisdiction to do. Now, the chairman has gone through and given us the information in digest form of what this bill will do. And obviously, we do fund the agencies at some level, but we don't know whether that level is sufficient, and we haven't asked questions of the people who we've assigned to run those agencies, whether it is or not. So, Mr. Chairman, as you know, because I've told you, at the end of the discussions that we're having, I will offer an amendment to increase IRS enforcement so that whether it's the big bad bill, good bill, depending upon your perspective, that we'll know that people are in fact at least paying that which they owe under law. Not any increases, but we have so decimated IRS enforcement, frankly, to some degree on both sides of the aisle. We've underfunded enforcement. That, as I've told you in the last year, 0.6% of the returns over $1 million are audited. 0.6, which means if I have a return over $1 million, I am 99.4% sure that nobody's going to look at it because of the lack of personnel to effect that end. If that is true, and I believe it to be true, then I have no incentive to be very worried about paying what I owe. And particularly at that level, if we're all concerned about the debt. I'm concerned about the debt. I think we look at a small percentage of the expenditures, and the chairman has said that, Mr. Womack has said it, who chaired the budget committee. If that is true, we're looking at 15% to solve a $38 trillion problem or $39 trillion problem. That's unfair to the appropriators, and it is dishonest with the American people. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm concerned about, and you and I have discussed this, we haven't had the opportunity to have the hearings, that we need to do the work that the big chairman and the ranking member talked about the subcommittee doing. I don't think we've done that. I don't think we've had the opportunity to do it. I don't think it's anybody's, well, let me put it this way, I think it's somebody's fault, but not here. And I think, frankly, it is intentional. It is intentional to marginalize the work of the Congress generally and the Appropriations Committee specifically. So, Mr. Chairman, we'll have this markup, we'll report it out, and we'll consider other amendments in the big committee. But I think it's unfortunate that we've been put in this position. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ranking Member. And as we have discussed so I put it on the record, I'm not allergic to having hearings post the bill. So we could certainly continue to do that, and if necessary, approach about modifications moving forward. With that, I now recognize the distinguished chairman of our full committee, Mr. Cole, for his remarks.
Thank you very much, Chairman Joyce, and thank you to Ranking Member Hoyer, Ranking Member DeLauro, and all the members of the subcommittee on both sides of the aisle. After advancing a bill centered on those who serve earlier this morning, we now take up the fiscal year 2027 Financial Services and General Government Appropriations Bill, ensuring that the nation they protect is supported by a government that is accountable, disciplined, and results-oriented. This legislation funds the core institutions that underpin our economy, uphold the rule of law, and support security efforts across departments. From the Executive Office of the President to the federal judiciary, its reach is broad and its impact is consequential. Importantly, Washington excess is replaced by America First priorities. The bill eliminates wasteful spending, reins in bureaucratic overreach, and restores accountability across the government. It codifies several of President Trump's executive orders to ensure the mandate of the American people is comprehensively implemented. And even with a strong focus on fiscal discipline, we do not neglect what matters most. This measure strengthens our national security by countering cyber threats, scrutinizing foreign investment from adversaries like China, and preventing terrorists and criminals from exploiting our financial system. It also invests in the drivers of American prosperity, consumer freedom, entrepreneurship, small business growth, and the liberties that sustain them. Americans expect us to be responsible stewards of their tax dollars. Thanks to the work of Chairman Joyce, this bill cuts roughly $1 billion from the previous fiscal year. This is a smart, principled bill that delivers a government that works smarter, faster, and more efficiently. I again thank Chairman Joyce and Ranking Member Hoyer, as well as the members of this subcommittee and the majority and minority staff who worked so hard to get us here. I look forward to consideration of this bill, and with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you, Chairman Cole. I now recognize the distinguished ranking member of the full committee, Ms. DeLauro, for her remarks.
I thank you, Mr. Chairman, and no, I did not get a nap. Just for a second, I'd just like to give an acknowledgement or shout out to Free DC. Thank you for being here. You guys are great. Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Hoyer, and to my friend, Chairman Cole. You know, the second Trump term has been a tale of two constituencies. One is the vast, overwhelming majority of Americans who are being crushed under the weight of the rising cost of living. Families who are struggling to make ends meet, juggling the high cost of housing, groceries, gas, childcare, and health insurance. They are stretched thin and in dire need of relief. The other is a small, insulated group of exceptionally wealthy individuals. These are the folks who sat smiling behind the president as he was inaugurated, the tech CEOs, the hedge fund managers, the leaders of global corporations who are swallowing up more and more of the market every day. These folks are not struggling. In fact, they are doing better than they have ever done before. The bill we are considering today tilts the scales even further in favor of the wealthy while putting even more pressure on everyday working families. This bill guts the funding for the Consumer Product Safety Commission. That means large corporations will have wider leeway to push dangerous products on American consumers, putting children and families at risk. That is great news if you are a CEO who wants to pad your profits by cutting back on compliance. It is terrible news if you are a working parent trying to make sure that your kids are safe and healthy while you try to stay on top of the increasing demands on your daily life. This bill cuts funding for the Small Business Administration and entrepreneurial development programs, paring back support for hardworking Americans trying to get their businesses off the ground. That is a big help if you're a big company trying to corner the market and do not want any competition to cut in on your profits. It is a stick in the eye if you have a fresh idea to meet a need in your community and want to avoid being crushed by the corporate giant down the block. Even after passing trillions of dollars in tax cuts for the very wealthy and large corporations, that's $4.5 trillion, I repeat, $4.5 trillion, paid for by stripping away health care access from working families. This bill cuts funding for IRS enforcement, meaning that these large corporations and wealthy individuals will get away with paying even less, while working families continue to pay far more in taxes as a percentage of their wealth than do the richest Americans. We are seeing a striking pattern of market consolidation across a variety of sectors. Mega mergers in tech, medicine, and energy have weakened the competition that brings prices down and allowed corporate giants to emerge on a scale we have not seen since the Gilded Age. Yet, this bill would defund the Federal Trade Commission, clearing the way for even larger acquisitions, less competition, and higher prices for American consumers. This bill is a boon for the very rich and large corporations. It does nothing to alleviate the strain on working families who are struggling just to get by as the cost of living continues unabated. In fact, it makes this problem even worse. I would hazard a guess that cutting funding for the agencies that stop big corporations from squeezing working families for all they are worth would probably not be very popular with American voters. It is not the kind of thing you want to campaign on if you are a Republican. So it is interesting to see that this bill also takes aim at our election infrastructure, defunding the Election Assistance Commission, weakening political fundraising guardrails, allowing misinformation and disinformation to spread unchecked. As a reminder, the midterm elections will take place in fiscal year 2027. And if I am being frank, the odds do not look very good for the president and his allies. We should be taking steps to shore up our election infrastructure from any and all interference and make sure that our states and our localities have the resources they need to conduct elections that are free and that are fair, that the American people can have faith in. I encourage my colleagues to oppose the legislation before us today and to craft a bill that offers relief for working families, cracks down on big corporations, not the other way around. Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you. Ms. DeLauro? Do any other members wish to make an opening remark? Good. Oh. Mr. Bishop.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Chairman George, Ranking Member Hoyer, for your hard work, and of course, thanks to Chairman Cole and Ranking Member DeLauro. That said, I'm disappointed that I have to oppose the FY27 Financial Services and General Government Bill. It severely undermines important government agencies that serve the American people, including the Federal Trade Commission, Small Business Administration, IRS, and the Consumer Product Safety Commission. The bill cuts the IRS's enforcement budget drastically yet again. I don't understand why you continue to axe the agency's budget each year while recklessly increasing the national debt. How can we expect to pay our bills if we can't even invest in collecting what's owed to the national coffers? It's painfully clear that this is a green light for billionaires to dodge their fair share while sticking hard-working Americans with higher costs and worse service. If you take issue with our tax laws, then change them through the legislative process. We saw it last year when the reconciliation bill was rammed through on the slimmest of margins. But it should not be done by disarming the Internal Revenue Service and taking away the tools it uses to go after billionaire and multimillionaire tax cheats. And certainly Congress should not make it harder for everyday folks who simply want to pay what's due but find themselves unable to connect with a representative over the phone. By slashing support for the Small Business Administration, cutting clean energy programs that help entrepreneurs save money, the bill makes it harder for hardworking small business owners to grow their businesses and to create jobs. On top of the harmful funding cuts, it's loaded with extreme policy riders that take aim at reproductive rights, rolling back D.C.'s home rule, and forcing a far-right agenda into what should be a straightforward government funding bill. Finally, the election security funding is yet again treated as an afterthought. The majority endlessly harps on virtually non-existent election issues like the supposed masses of illegal immigrants risking committing a crime with possible jail time in order to register to vote or cast a ballot, which is demonstrably false. They know that election security grants provide funding for critical equipment upgrades and harden security against our adversaries like Russia, China, and Iran, who are opposed to our democratic institutions. My colleagues across the aisle would rather leave us vulnerable to foreign interference while putting the fundamental right to vote for Americans at risk. The bill turns its back on the very people that we were sent here to represent. It protects the powerful while weakening the institutions ordinary families count on, and I'm dismayed to say that I oppose this legislation, and I encourage my colleagues to vote no, and hopefully, before this process is over, to recraft this bill to more effectively address the resource needs this subcommittee is supposed to provide for these agencies adequately so we can serve the American people. That I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Bishop. Any other members wishing to be heard? Seeing none? Oh, sorry. Mr. Polkin?
I'll be really quick because I know everyone would like to get out of here.
Work on my peripheral vision.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. The only thing I'm going to say, I think you outlined the cuts, our ranking member of the full committee outlined the cuts, our ranking member of the subcommittee outlined the cuts. The only cut I didn't hear was anything about OMB. And in fact, we didn't hear any of it because they haven't come to our subcommittee yet. And I do hope that even if it is after the fact, which isn't the best way to do it, but it's before it goes to the floor, we do get Secretary Bessent and Russ Vogt and others before our subcommittee, because a year ago, I was getting record calls when money was being stolen that we approved, Democrats and Republicans in Congress. And then this week, I've had multiple meetings where people are still not getting their money. Just, it's without the fanfare, without Elon Musk jumping in the air. It's just, but we're still being disrespected by the executive branch on the funding that we have agreed as bipartisan members of Congress, our Article 1 responsibilities. So, I just really hope we do get him here. The fact that he got $100 million extra in reconciliation, not getting any cuts, not showing up, makes it much harder to do this as, in my opinion, as serious as it deserves from Congress. And I am glad you said that you will be inviting him then to come before us. Well, I hope so. I mean, this is one where, again, you may be the caretakers right now of the majority. We may be in the next session, but at the end of the day, we're only caretakers, right? Other people are going to be taking over this institution, and we've got to show the respect for it. And I'm an institutionalist maybe to a fault, but in this case, we've got to make sure the executive branch, the people that have to come before us. And in particular, like I said, I've had 3 groups this week, hundreds of millions of dollars being held up that we've approved. And if our process, our institution has that respect, we have to have that. So that's all I wanted to say. I do appreciate that we're going to try to have them. I will yield.
Mr. Chairman, your comment back was, if they come.
I can't guarantee anything.
Yes, we can
Yeah,
guarantee that.
shouldn't get
Let me say something.
And no money.
We all thank a witness for coming. Thank you very much for being here. We did that to Senator Kennedy yesterday in the Labor Health Bill, and we do that with most of these witnesses. I think that's polite, but they should be here. That is their responsibility to be here. This is not an optional exercise for them. We are Article 1. We fund them. And by golly, if we're going to have respect, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member, we're going to subpoena them. When Newt Gingrich was elected to the Congress and we had appropriation hearings, he had the witnesses sworn in under oath. And his message to them was, we're not messing around. We're going to have you here, you're going to tell us the truth, and we're going to make decisions on that basis. OMB is not doing us a favor by coming down here. DOJ should be subpoenaed. Yesterday, we had a labor health hearing, and I asked Secretary Kennedy directly, how many people do you have? They had fired 12,000. You know how many they've hired back? They may not have hired back the same people, 12,000. I was stunned by that answer. DOJ went through this process of eliminating people. They've hired back almost exactly the same number of people. My point is, hearings are meant to elicit information on which we can make sound judgments. And neither DOJ nor Vogt nor anybody else in the administration is doing us a favor by coming down here. And very frankly, I think if they don't come down here, there ought to be a financial penalty for them. Thank you. Thank you for yielding.
Mr. Chairman?
Can I yield some time to, not that I have any time, but.
A yield upon a yield, I'm not sure of, but out of courtesy, I will certainly recognize the ranking member.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Chairman. And I want to reinforce that we provide the funds. If they cannot tell us what they're about, what the money is for, why then do we feel obliged to say, okay, unseen, no oversight at all? I'll throw in another agency, as I will call it. We provide money for the Supreme Court. I've been here a long time. They've never come up and tell us what they're doing with the money that we appropriate. And I had a conversation not that long ago because I want to give them all the security they need. I believe we ought to have all the security that we need. And I had a conversation with Justice Kagan. And I said to her, happy to provide the security, but you have to come up. The court has to come up here, tell us what you're doing. We have no idea what you spend the money on, etc. She said, I'll call you back. She called me back 2 hours later, and she spoke to the Chief Justice, and he said they'd be happy to come and do it. We need to have them here. Russ Vogt needs to be here. He testified before the House and the Senate Budget Committee. Wouldn't provide a hell of a lot of information, but he was, he was there. That is the power of this committee, and we have to exercise the power of that purse, and that's got to be known, and we've got to do it now before they will continue to try to try, as I say, because we're not going to let them do it. And I think that is a bipartisan commitment. That's what I feel about this. We've had it. We made our voices heard in the last go-round. We'll do that now and be even stronger as to who we are, what we're about, and what our responsibilities are in making sure we are guardians of taxpayers' dollars and hold people accountable. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to my colleagues.
And thank you. And just for purposes, when I spoke to Mr. Hoyer and said, well, I just can't guarantee anything. No one can, right? I'm certainly want to have those hearings. We'll certainly request or subpoena or do what's necessary, but, I'm not, I got the same powers you all have.
We got
As
it.
a human. Any other speakers? Okay, noticing none. For what purpose
Chairman.
does the gentleman from Maryland seek recognition?
I have an amendment at the desk.
There's an amendment at the desk. The clerk will read the amendment.
Amendment to Financial Services Appropriation Bill offered by Mr. Hoyer of Maryland. In the bill on page 17, line 7, increase the dollar amount by $1,837,616,000. In the report, make conforming changes.
Without objection, the reading of the amendment is dispensed with. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized for 5 minutes.
I thank the chairman. Ladies and gentlemen of the committee, this figure gets the IRS to where we all passed a budget in '25 to give them. So this is not, $1.8 billion is a lot of money, but it is their budget in '75. We keep cutting enforcement. We keep cutting the IRS because of the hostility towards the concept of paying taxes, or the concept that the IRS would look at returns and seek collection of taxes due, particularly from the wealthiest. Now, why do I say the wealthiest? Of which, by the way, all of us around this table fall. The fact of the matter is, I'm not sure of the exact percentage, but I would guess it's somewhere in the 80% category. They don't have an option. Every week, their taxes are paid, proportional share, and 52 weeks or 12 months if they're paid monthly, we withdraw the taxes proportionally due from their pay. Now, that's not true of corporations for the most part. It's not true for capital gains recipient for the most part. It's not due for some of the partnerships for the most part. And the point I was making at the beginning, if you're only checking 0.6% of returns over $1 million, if I'm the accountant or the lawyer, I say, you know, there's not much shot that they're going to look at you. And some of the returns, of course, are stacks. And the problem we have is that it takes a very long time to review those returns. And therefore, it is personnel intensive. Now, maybe AI is going to get to a place where it'll make it a lot faster, but right now they're not there yet. And so if we cut their taxes deeply, and then we eliminate oversight of their returns, we are placing all the burden on those whose taxes we withdraw every time they get a check. Now, I don't have any illusions that this amendment's going to pass, which is a shame, because this is the 25 figure, just 2 years ago. We reduced them. We did 5 on enforcement, on IRS. So I would urge us at least to start considering whether or not we're going to give the IRS the ability to do what they say. Now, experts in the academic community have said for every $1 of enforcement money you spend on wealthy taxpayers, $1 million tax return or more, you get $12 in return. Now, if you're concerned, that, by the way, is not where you're going to get the money to balance our budget. I have no illusions, because there aren't enough people who do that, make that much. But if they pay a fair share, every other taxpayer is going to feel, well, at least all of us are paying a fair share. And if you can't enforce it and you have less than 1% audits, there is no incentive, or let me put it a different way, there's no disincentive not to cheat. And so I believe that we ought to at least fund at the level we funded in 2025. And that was the first year we really started talking about this fully, I think. So, Mr. Chairman, that's why I offer this amendment, because I think it gives the resources necessary for IRS to do its work that we expect them to do and the American people expect them to do.
Thank you. Any other members wish to be recognized to speak on the amendment? Of course you do, Mr. Ivey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, ranking members. I speak in support of the amendment. Just a couple of quick points. I think that the issue that popped up this week that's related, different subcommittee, but the Department of Justice is shrinking the tax division, which are the prosecutors that would handle these kinds of cases. So from the standpoint of eliminating and reducing the deterrent effect, it sort of compounds, because you've got this upfront piece where you've got, especially major tax, I was going to say cheats, but that would be remain to be seen. But people over $10 million, for example, who are realizing that they don't have to, that it's very unlikely that they're going to have an audit done. And so it undermines the incentive for compliance. And also at the back end of that, if you do have people who are actually cheating on their taxes, it's harder to prosecute them because you don't have the experience from the standpoint of investigators and prosecutors to actually handle the cases. So Mr. Hoyer did a shadow hearing last year, and one of the former IRC commissioners came in and said that these kinds of cuts are tax cuts for tax cheats. And I think it's important for us to understand that if we want to make sure we're actually getting the funds that we can, and you pointed out the ratio of funds that can be received from the standpoint of the enforcement dollars that we commit, And it just makes sense. Not going to balance the budget, but it'd be a big and important step in the right direction. And from a fairness standpoint, for people who do pay their taxes, working folks who are really fighting with burdens from a number of fronts as well. It just, from a fairness standpoint, I think it would make sense to move forward with this kind of amendment and put the enforcement piece in place so we do have more and better compliance across the board. And with that, I yield back.
Anyone else? And I'll recognize myself to speak on the amendment. I appreciate the ranking member's passion for the IRS, but I oppose this amendment. Without a corresponding offset, the additional $1.8 billion would exceed our top line. It would also defeat the purpose of the current number, which is to take us back to pre-COVID funding at the IRS. I would also just point out the ranking member, the FY27 bill retains the broad transfer authority that we worked on together in the FY26 enacted bill, giving the IRS access to any funding it might need to accomplish its mission. I would encourage my colleagues to vote no on this amendment. Do any other members wish to be heard? No further debate. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized for 1 minute to close.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. There is no top line. Exceeds what top line? There's no top line. The way the process should work, we should decide how much each committee is going to get, and that ought to be subject to some debate. This committee is underfunded. This is not a sexy committee.
Oh, come on now.
This committee is almost always the last committee to get the resources. Why? Because we're perceived as a small committee, but we do some very important things and very frankly oversee OMB, the White House, OPM, GSA. We have some huge consequential agencies under our aegis. And there's no top line. There was no debate about how much money we need. First of all, we didn't know how much because we haven't had the witnesses testify. We need this, we need that. We have not been able to ask, what are the consequences of cutting another $1 billion from IRS? What are the consequences? Now, I know there's some talk about where we're going to have technology that will solve that. Well, I've heard that almost all the time I've been on this committee. So I would respectfully say, and I'm no point in beating a dead horse, I get that, but the fact of the matter is we have no top line. So I don't need an offset. There are about $400 billion that are not included in the suggested 302Bs, because $400 billion hasn't been allocated yet. And very frankly, ironically, every one of those 302Bs relies, for the most part, except on a little tariff money that has now been told by the Supreme Court that we have to decide that issue. Every other dollar is collected by the IRS. And to the extent that they cannot do their job properly, the little guy has to pay either a higher percentage or has more costs of his groceries and utilities and gasoline, et cetera, et cetera. So, Mr. Chairman, respectfully, I don't need an offset on this because there's a lot of money that has not yet been distributed. And I believe that this is a priority for every other subcommittee, and I urge its adoption.
The question is now on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Maryland. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Give us a minute here.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, you apparently think this voting is like our markup, putting the cart before the horse.
All those opposed say no. No. Thank you. In opinion of the chair, the noes have it. The amendment is not adopted.
Okay with the vote? You okay with the vote?
A recorded vote.
Recorded vote.
Recorded vote has been requested. All those in favor of recorded vote, raise your hand. Sufficient number in support. A recorded vote is ordered. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Alford. Mr. Alford votes nay. Mr. Amadei. No. Mr. Amadei votes nay. Mr. Bishop.
I'm betting on 8 to 5.
Mr. Bishop votes yay. Mr. Cloud. Mr. Cloud votes nay. Mr. Edwards? Mr. Edwards votes no. Mrs. Henson? Mrs. Henson votes no. Mr. Hoyer?
Aye.
Mr. Hoyer votes aye. Mr. Ivy? Mr. Ivy votes aye. Mr. Joyce?
No.
Mr. Joyce votes no. Mr. Lalota? Mr. Lalota votes no. Mrs. Glusenkamp-Perez? Aye. Mrs. Glusenkamp-Perez votes aye. Mr. Pocan? Mr. Pocan votes aye. Mr. Womack? Mr. Womack votes no. Mr. Cole?
No.
Mr. Cole votes no. Mrs. Delora?
Aye.
Ms. Delora votes aye.
8 to 5.
What's the lucky number in the Maryland
Maybe
lottery
it,
tonight?
on the lottery, can we do 34-27 in full committee?
The clerk will tally. Nine to 6.
Oh, 9 to 6. 9 to 6.
Nine.
Oh,
It doesn't seem right.
Rosa,
That's me.
that's you. I really gave a lot of thought to that line, and I won't use it in full committee.
Know that you guys are having this conversation.
The ayes are 9 and the nays are 6.
We didn't.
Well, the ayes are 6. How the hell can anybody read that? And the ayes are 6 and the nays are 9, and the amendment is not adopted. Are there any further amendments? Hearing none, we now call on Mr. Alford.
Mr. Chair, I move the bill be favorably reported to the full committee.
Thank you for that motion. Question is on the motion. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no.
No.
The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to.
I vote.
Roll call.
A recorded vote has been requested. All those in favor of recorded vote, raise your hand. A sufficient number having raised their hand in support, a recorded vote is ordered. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Alford? Mr. Alford votes aye. Mr. Amadei? Mr. Amadei votes aye. Mr. Bishop? Mr. Bishop votes no. Mr. Cloud? Mr. Cloud votes aye. Mr. Edwards? Mr. Edwards votes aye. Mrs. Henson? Mrs. Henson votes aye. Mr. Hoyer?
No.
Mr. Hoyer votes no. Mr. Ivy? Mr. Ivy votes no. Mr. Joyce?
Aye.
Mr. Joyce votes aye. Mr. Lalota?
I was hoping
Mr. Lalota votes aye. Ms. Glusenkamp-Perez? Ms. Glusenkamp-Perez votes no. Mr. Pocan? Mr. Pocan votes no. Mr. Womack? Mr. Womack votes aye. Mr. Cole? Aye. Mr. Cole votes aye. Mrs. DeLauro?
No.
Ms. DeLauro votes no.
I got this now. The clerk will tally. On this vote, the ayes are 9, the noes are 6. The bill is favorably reported to the full committee. Without objection, I ask the staff be permitted to make technical and conforming changes to the bill and report. Copies of the bill and report with technical and conforming changes will be delivered to all full committee members' office no later than 3 business days before full committee. Thank you very much for everyone here. This concludes today's markup. Thank you again to Mr. Lalota for the fine breakfast that you provided for the members. Very thoughtful of you. And the committee now stands adjourned.